Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for having us here, for inviting us. My name is Marc Darder. I'm coming from the Regional Ministry of Territory and Sustainability in the Catalan government, Spain. And I will talk you very shortly about what I think is one of the most emblematic projects in the city of Barcelona, which is the waterfront, the coastline, the shoreline of the city of Barcelona. Barcelona is a successful city. I think there's no doubt about it. And despite its medium size after the Olympics in 1992, the city has been capable to attract millions of tourists during the last years. On the period between 1993 and 2015, the city has tripled the number of visitors hosted in hotels, up to 8 million per year. It has multiplied per 4 the number of flight passengers, up to almost 40 million per year. And it has increased 16 times the amount of cruise passengers, up to 2.5 million per year, being the 4th favorite destination in the world in this sort of tourism. Besides, the city has gained a good reputation in global branding, and it's the first city in number of partakers in congresses in the whole world. So the question that arises then is very simple. Why did this happen? It's maybe because of this, or this, great architecture in the city center, or maybe because of this, or this, or maybe this. Who knows, huh? Well, this helps a lot, by the way, anyway. All of them existed before the Olympics. Maybe not Messi. Messi wasn't there, but the city didn't have this brilliant impulse, this brilliant momentum that has raised Barcelona to the top cities in Europe in many, many different aspects. So, again, why did this happen? What happened in the city during this successful period? Well, Barcelona has suffered a massive transformation of its waterfront, especially since a few years before the Olympics until nowadays. More than 5 kilometers of coastline has been developed, regained, and changed drastically. 7 beaches have been created out of almost nothing, and the city has finished a development that completes the cultural, architectural, and economical assets of the city. Today, we can conclude that a greatest contribution to Barcelona's touristic success and growing attractiveness is the renewal of its waterfront. But regaining the shoreline hasn't been easy at all. The old harbor premises had been filling up the waterfront. The city grew on the sand of its beaches, seeking for an economical expectancy or simply for a place to live in. The coastal railroad corridor and the industrial fabric blocked the access to the seafront and allowed the extension of informal city. In 1966, the first step in order to regain the shoreline was made. A very unsubtle promenade was settled in the maritime quarter of La Barceloneta. The sheds and huts of this informal city were demolished, and the immigrants were resettled in brand new housing estates with a high social cost that in many, many ways still remains in the collective memory of the city. Just before the Olympics, the enormous responsibility to accomplish the world's expectation led the Spanish and the Catalan governments and the Barcelona municipality to a common effort. The brilliant result was not only the construction of the sports facilities, but the resolution of the coastal facade of the city. With the Olympic Village, a new district of 2,000 new dwellings settled in the seafront, the global development of the shoreline was initiated. New beaches and parks were created. A sea promenade crossed the entire city for the first time. The coastal ring execution, partly underground, solved the metropolitan mobility of vehicles along the shoreline, and the undergrounding of the remaining railroad system soothed the scars of the city. In 2004, the Forum of Cultures, a sort of international fair fostered by Barcelona municipality, was the excuse to rebuild the last of the urban gaps in the waterfront. A big spot with Congress buildings, a marina, and different open spaces were constructed. From this short summary, we can note that the modification and the development of the waterfront has been done by piece, a patchwork done basically in 4 stages, and no overall vision nor a master plan. Besides, we can't miss this piece of land works as a cross-section of the whole city, so links the different urban fabrics from the historical center to housing estates done in 1960s. At the same time, the economical juncture has strongly influenced the different proposals and programs along the shoreline. The private sector has filled this sensitive area with casinos, hotels, marinas, office buildings, shopping malls and real estate development, all of them setting a diverse catalogue of formal solutions, some of them imported from other geographic and cultural contexts. Finally, the waterfront has been, in many times, the battlefield between different administrations and public enterprises. The Port Authority, the municipalities of Barcelona and Sant Adrià del Besòs, the Catalan and Spanish governments have discussed about their competence within this piece of land. Then, the question is obvious then, how the city could achieve an exemplary waterfront despite this formal mixture, the different functional programs and the economical interest. How was the city prevailed over this mess, this complexity? Well, I think we can get 3 lessons about it. Let's see. The first major decision was to integrate the infrastructures in the whole waterfront. Solving the mobility and caring not only about the visible city was a key decision to achieve a successful coastline. From the Olympics, and despite the different development stages, the city had a clear idea about the necessity of integrating the coastal ring road as a permeable urban space, not as a barrier. The coastal ring road, which has been buried in more than a half of his length, it has become an example of how successfully integrate an urban highway, because its visible parts are surrounded by green areas and simultaneously crossed by different levels of bridges or streets. In this particular matter, the restoration of the old harbor docks by Manuel de Solá Morales is a wonderful example of how conquering a new public space by the sea can be an opportunity to solve many different problems at once. The city center parking needs, the pedestrian access to the port area and the coverage of the coastal ring road. The second lesson is to consider the waterfront as an urban system itself, which means that it's an autonomous and complex body that provides the city with not only amenities or leisure, but satisfies some of its real needs. A network of public buildings settled throughout a waterfront and well connected to the rest of the city, most of them with a social destination as the hospital, civic centers or sport facilities, allows different uses of the coastline by the citizens. At the same time, 5 major parks are designed in this area. They act like big open windows in which the citizens can go through in order to reach the waterfront. These green spaces, separated among them by practically the same distances, half a kilometer, 500 meters, set a system of urban voids connected by pedestrian paths, gardens, or a waterfront promenade. The third great lesson is taking advantage of the extension plan of the city done in 19th century, known as l'Eixample. A great corner chamfered square blocks of 113 meters with streets perpendicular to the waterfront. The different projects lean on this grid system, even though they settle modern types of buildings, different from those that the planner of l'Eixample, Ildefons Cerdà, had in mind. The result is a transversal system of streets that, no matter what is happening in the waterfront, they get to the sea. The distance between these streets is regular, around 350 meters, and it's a constant all along the seafront. A regular pattern that allows a straight and constant relation between the sea and the city behind it through the main streets and pedestrian promenades. There's only one exception, is the last of the urban projects, the Forum, where the resolution of the program is utterly disconnected from what happens in the inner parts of the city. The coastal ring road is a real barrier there, and straight logic of the housing state is twisted and ignored by the shape of the new marina, which behaves as a splitter of the urban promenades and connections to the sea. In this case, it's worth to mention the project Solà Morales in Badalona. Just the city up to the north continues to Barcelona. His project plans a new marina, but the main idea goes much further than only solving the maritime facade of the city. The main goal is to insert the marina to the logic of the city and not backwards. A main canal flanked by 2 rows of dwelling and commercial buildings becomes the starting point of an urban renewal that tries to move the old factories and extend the city by creating a new center. This is an excellent solution to think the resolution of the coastline as a problem that goes much farther and affects the city behind it. So everything brings me to a single conclusion. The waterfront of the city cannot be only like a necklace. I mean, a thin, linear system inserted to a catalogue of different urban objects. It must be more like a comb, a thick line full of intensity that is constantly connected, not only physically, to the rest of the city. A system that inserts the infrastructures and acts in 2 directions, parallel and perpendicular to the sea. Thank you so much.